Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to talk about, we're well into the new century now. We're now in the lesson, we're talking about the year 2016. And in the run-up to that year, we're talking about the election between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Now, you're probably old enough to remember that Hillary Clinton does not win that election. And on the first slide, you can see here the 2016 Electoral College map, as we've seen for all the last presidents over the last 100 years or so. Now, Donald Trump wins. He wins about 306 electoral votes. You only need 269 to win. And Hillary Clinton wins only about 227. And so Donald Trump wins by a landslide the Electoral College. But look at the popular vote. Who won the popular vote? Hillary Clinton wins the popular vote. She gets 2.5 million more votes than Donald Trump gets. Now, you remember, we talked about this a little bit with George W. Bush's election in the year 2000. And we thought it wouldn't happen again, but sure enough, it happens again in 2016. And so, again, in the United States, it's not who wins the most votes who becomes the president. It's who wins the Electoral College who becomes the next president. And Donald Trump becomes the next president, even though Hillary Clinton gets 2.5 million more votes. And that's just the way that the American system works. So the next slide, we can see Donald Trump. He's a Republican. Donald Trump is from New York. He's a real estate developer and a TV personality. He was an entertainer on television. Of course, we just talked about the fact that he won the electoral vote and lost the popular vote. And most opinion polls, universities and companies and news organizations, they would go out and ask people questions. Who's going to win? Who are you going to vote for? What issues are important to you? And almost all of these public opinion polls had Donald Trump losing the election and Hillary Clinton winning. And so today, political scientists are not quite sure how to understand Donald Trump's victory. One theory is this: because Donald Trump was so controversial when he was a candidate before he was president, and he said some really, really controversial, very disgraceful and nasty things. And so one theory was that if you ask me who I'm going to vote for, I don't want to tell you I'm going to vote for Donald Trump because I'm embarrassed to say that I voted for him. Well, I didn't vote for him, but maybe I'm embarrassed to say that I did, or maybe I'm embarrassed to say that I wanted to vote for him. And so that's one theory that political scientists have, that many people just didn't want to tell who they wanted to vote for. And so they didn't until they went into the box where they vote secretly and they voted for Donald Trump. But what does this mean about America? What does this tell us about ourselves? And we don't know. That's a question that, there's a lot of questions that political scientists and historians are still trying to look at and figure out, what does Donald Trump's election mean for America? Not just in 2016 or 17, but in 2027 or 2050 or 2075. On this next slide, we see some things that have happened under Donald Trump, and Republicans would argue that these are good things that have happened. He modifies Obamacare. It means that you don't necessarily have to have health care anymore, which Republicans loved, Democrats did not like at all. He ends the Iran nuclear deal, which means that Iran can now enrich uranium and build nuclear materials or build nuclear weapons. He also meets with the North Korean leader, and the North Korean leader promises that he will get rid of his nuclear weapons. And Donald Trump promised to stop the war game exercises with the South Koreans in exchange for North Korea ending its nuclear program. And so no one is actually sure what these all mean for 20 or 30 years down the road. But most Republicans look at these things as, somewhat good. Some of these things could be good. Democrats generally look at them as bad. Donald Trump also cuts taxes. He has the largest tax cuts since the Reagan administration in the 1980s. And Republicans, of course, argue that those things are good as well. Now, there's a lot of very controversial things about Donald Trump. And a lot of these are coming from Democrats, and a lot of these came from Republicans before Donald Trump was president as well. He criticizes his own advisors, his own cabinet members, and there's 15 of these, and they're very close advisors, and he criticizes several of them. He tries to discredit the FBI and the CIA and the National Security Agency, and these agencies told him that Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, is trying to influence the election. And Trump says he asked Vladimir Putin, and Putin said no. And so he said that he believes Putin more than he believes the American CIA. And so that upset a lot of Americans. And he also attacks the media, claiming the media is the enemy of the people. And in American tradition, the media is one of the most important aspects of a free society, that the media and the government should not go together. Now, that's the philosophy in the United States. The philosophy in other countries, including China, is that the media should be helping the presidency and the government should be helping the media. And that's another philosophy. And so just different philosophies here. But in the United States, the philosophy is that the media and the government should be separate. Donald Trump has also been accused of asking Russia for help in the 2016 election and asking for information that Americans would not like about Hillary Clinton. Now, he claims he didn't do that, and his sons, Eric and Donald Jr., both claim that they did not do that, and no one is quite sure, but the government currently is investigating to find out whether or not that happened. And when that investigation is finished, what does that mean for Donald Trump? What does that mean for the United States? No one knows the answer to that. Donald Trump, of course, says that the investigation is a sham anyway, and he doesn't agree with anything that's taking place with that investigation. So the next question is, on the next slide, what does Trump's election mean for the United States and the world? And no one knows the answer to that yet. Donald Trump was elected by people who wanted him to come in and change everything. And there's no question, he's come to office and he's changing everything. And any time that most Americans see what he's doing and they see, oh, that's not good, Donald Trump supporters come in and say, no, that's exactly why we wanted him to be president, because he's changing everything. And change can be good. We do sometimes need someone to come in and change everything, or almost everything. And so what does that mean for Americans' relations with China? What does it mean for American relations with Japan or Korea or Russia or Canada or France or England? No one knows the answer to that yet. No one knows what that means for the economy. No one knows what that means for friendships and treaty organizations. And so the answer to this question is still out there, and no one knows. And so I leave you at the end of this course with that question, and I wish you best of luck in your next courses. We'll see you next time. All right, bye-bye.